Hello and welcome to the Driveline Podcast. This is the official podcast of the South Dakota Trucking Association and the South Dakota Auto Dealers Association. My name is Trevor Johnson and I'm here as your host today, and I'm here with Don Giordano. Don, how you doing? Don's with Merchant Advocate. He came to our convention, really killed it. He's a great personality, great person to meet and talk to. And I just want a little background of who you are, Don, and a little bit about Merchant Advocate as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Travis. And thank you for allowing this. And we really appreciate our partnership with South Dakota Auto Dealer Association. So my name is Don Giordano. I live in Toms River, New Jersey, with my wife and two children, 9 and 10 years old, Donnie and Mia. And I've been with Merchant Advocate for 6 years, running sales and helping with business development. Merchant Advocate is an expense reduction company, laser focused on the merchant services area. We are not a credit card processor, but we help businesses and dealers save money on their fees without changing processors. And the reason Merchant Advocate was created, the processing industry is unregulated and there's no transparency.
Absolutely. And I think that lots of people think when they think credit card processing or they think saving from fees, they're thinking like switching processors. So the fact that you guys are not making everybody switch to your processor is a real selling point because all you have to do is come in and tell them, hey, we're like, this is what you can do differently and we'll save you this money. And that's awesome, I think. Before we get into more about Merchant Advocate, tell me a little bit more about your past, your history, where you came from, how you grew up, where you went to school,
Sure.
that kind of stuff.
Yep. So I'm from a big Italian family in northern New Jersey, Bergen County. I grew up with four sisters, so I'm very patient and you know, calm.
Yeah.
I used to own restaurants in northern New Jersey, in North Hilden. I owned Pellegrino's Restaurant and Lounge,
Mhm.
and I met Merchant Advocate at my restaurant. They actually came in, they helped me save money. I loved the company. It was a great process, and 10 years ago when I was with the restaurant, I remember sitting at the bar one night with my wife. She was like 6 months pregnant, and it's 12 o'clock at night. It's just late, and she's like, "I think that you should get into another career because I want you to be there with your family. I want to see you raise your kids. This restaurant business is grueling, and it's a lot of
Yeah.
hours and stressful." And I actually interviewed a Merchant Advocate and got the job, and I can honestly say it was the best career move I ever did. I love the company. Fast forward 6 years, I have all these accounts that we helped and all these great success stories. So that's how I met him, through my restaurant.
Wow. Yeah. And how does the restaurant industry compare to credit card processing, and how did you kind of shift into the auto industry as well?
Great question. So, I had a restaurant, so I had a credit card processor. I didn't really understand it. It was, they would send me these statements every month. I couldn't understand them. It was very confusing, and I was paying a lot of money every month just to accept credit cards. It
Mhm.
was one point I was so frustrated, I stopped even looking at my merchant statements because I just assumed there was a cost of doing business. There was nothing I could do about it. So when I got to Merchant Advocate, one of the first verticals I looked at was auto. I went to the NADA show in Vegas 5 years ago, and I've been there every year since. It's a great pain point for dealers because there's a lot of moving parts. The dealerships are high energy. There's parts, there's service, there's sales, there's terminals, there's gateways. There's a lot of different areas for the processors to generate revenue. And I've seen a lot of great stories where Merchant Advocate came in and saved dealers hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I went and ran with it. Now I work with a lot of the state associations as value add, and it's been really great. And I want to say in 17 years we're $300 million in savings, zero
Oh, that's
negative
crazy.
reviews online. Yeah, it's an amazing company.
Yeah. So getting started with Merchant Advocate and coming from the restaurant business, what was some of the biggest things you learned or some of the biggest challenges you faced in that time?
So challenges, there wasn't that many. I'll be honest with you.
Mhm.
Coming out of the restaurant business, and I was ran the front of the house. And I was very
Right.
personable with my clients. They would ask about my sisters and my grandparents. They were like family to me. So when I moved to
Right.
Merchant Advocate, I called all those business owners that came in and I let them kind of kick the tires in a sense. And I wanted their real opinion, their true opinion on Merchant Advocate. And the response was always positive. So when I first started, I called all these people and they were like, Donnie, this sounds great, you know. And now I created stories. So I'm actually saving them money. And that's
Right.
really what got me to love Merchant Advocate so much. It's not only are we, helping people, we're saving them money every month. There's not that many sales you could do that's really going to help a business like that. So that's really the long and short of it. There wasn't that many obstacles in the beginning. It was
Uh-huh.
always well received by my peers, and it kind of exploded from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what kind of like when you're starting with a new client or a new company, what are some of the common hidden fees that you'll see showing up in their statements? Like what should people look out for?
There's a lot of different ways the processors generate revenue, whether it's on hidden fees or inflating rates or just not setting up accounts properly. But one common thing we see a lot of is PCI compliance. So if a
Okay.
dealer isn't PCI compliant, they're paying a monthly fee until they become compliant. And becoming compliant is fairly easy. It's a quick test. It's really common sense answers, and the processor will send a signal to their location to make sure there's no open API or anywhere somebody could penetrate. It basically makes sure the dealers are transacting securely. And if you're
Right.
not PCI compliant, you pay a monthly fee. And I've seen that fee anywhere from $25 to $200 a month per location. So that could be,
Huh.
very significant. Once you
Yeah.
become compliant, those fees go away and you're transacting securely. So that's one thing I definitely would have all the dealers look at. Make sure you're PCI compliant, because that's just additional revenue you're giving away.
What does PCI stand for?
Payment card industry. It's
Okay.
basically a profit center that the processors came up with. And they
Huh.
could then charge a monthly fee and an annual fee. And it just essentially means you're transacting securely. So
Gotcha.
everybody should be PCI compliant, because if
Right.
you're not and there's ever a breach, the dealership is liable. If you are
Okay.
PCI compliant and there's a breach, the processor is liable.
Okay. Gotcha. Um, and what was the other term? API. Can you explain API as well?
That's just how a system is set up, and
Okay.
how they can interface and integrate and how people can connect to it.
Okay. Gotcha. And as you've gone through Merchant Advocate and you've kind of created this team, what struggles have you had and what have you learned about guiding a team and motivating your team?
So I'm very motivational. I think that motivating your team is probably the best thing you can do for them. Instead
Uh-huh.
of being down on them and being negative, we're always super positive. We have rewards. We set clear goals. I love constructive feedback. Okay, anytime we do a
Yeah.
webinar, anytime I'm on a sales call with somebody, we always sit and talk about how the call went. What we do, it's very transparent. Like, we're explaining to people this industry that was never explained to them. It's a lot of
Yeah.
educational stuff. So, encourage teamwork and just work as a team, and monthly goals. That's really how we motivate them. But the
Gotcha.
motivation comes when we have success stories. We
Uh-huh.
saved the dealer $3,000 last month. That's motivation right there.
Right. Okay, gotcha. And another question that I kind of have for you is, since coming from an auto dealer association, how did you kind of get involved with associations? How did you find out about them? And what kind of brought you to start like partnering with associations?
Yeah. So, after the NADA show 5 years ago, I met the president of the New York State Auto Dealer Association. And I thought, it would be an amazing value add, because we're a contingency based model where it's found money we're putting back in the dealer's pocket. It's
Right.
virtually frictionless for the business. Nothing changes. Their DMS, their software, their integration, their bank, everything stays identical. So it's a non-dues revenue generator. And that's kind of a buzzword in the association space. They
Yes.
love to be able to offer this to their members without any money out of pocket. We conduct a complimentary analysis of someone's merchant statements, and that's very well received by the members. So, and I started with New York, and now we're probably in close to 20 of them just over the last couple of years. And
Right.
it's a lengthy vetting process to be vetted out by these associations.
Yes.
South Dakota is not just going to let anyone come in and start talking to your members. We have a real product. It's always well received. I usually start by presenting to the board members. They love the model, and then we blast it out to their members. So it's been great. We help the association, we help their members, and we're putting money back in their pocket. So it's always well received.
Yeah, because I know coming into the association world for me, because I'm kind of new to it as well, I didn't even know associations existed till I started working at one.
Yeah,
So it was one of those things where I came in and I was like, okay, this is what the function is. They're really focused on advocacy and getting good partners for these members because the members can't always have the time to go out and vet their own partners. So you end up with the association. So it's a really cool thing that I never knew existed, and I think that it's a great opportunity for a lot of vendors. And yes, like you said, it is hard to get vetted by associations because we don't want a bunch of partners that are not great, right? Exactly. We want to
exactly.
give our members the best partners. For
Yep.
our members specifically, we do have a lot of smaller dealerships here in South Dakota, some one rooftops, not these big companies that you see in New York. And I know that they're a little like there's a lot of challenges with that in South Dakota, and I'm wondering how you approach like a smaller dealership and talk to them.
We approach it the same way we approach a giant.
Yeah.
We ask for a couple months of their statements. We do a forensic analysis, and then we give that dealer a high level overview of what we uncovered. Same, it doesn't matter what the size is. We like
Okay.
to help anybody.
Yeah, and I think they're really happy to hear that for sure. And I know that helps a lot of people around here. Um, what are some common myths about credit card processing and what have people maybe heard that isn't true?
Um, it's a cost of doing business. It is definitely a cost of doing business, but
Yes.
is it the right cost? You
Right.
know, and I'm guilty of this. When I had my restaurant,
Yeah.
I would just kind of divide my fees by my volume every month and get an idea of what net rate I was paying. But it was so confusing to look into the details and to start learning about this that I never challenged it and I just assumed it as a cost of doing business. So it doesn't have to be, it's a cost. It definitely have to be a cost, but to make sure that it's the right cost.
Right. Gotcha. What is one thing about your career that you didn't expect when you came into it?
Um, I didn't expect to love the model this much.
Yeah.
I did because I'm a passionate guy. When I had my
Yeah.
restaurant, I did a lot of tableside filleting fish and open wine tableside. Just but I didn't expect to really fall in love with the model of merchant advocate. It's really blew my mind. I have businesses that are Fortune 100 companies
Right.
that were saving hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. You would think that these companies are savvy enough to get this, get a right spend on it, but they're not. Companies that would blow your mind. Some of the biggest hospital systems in the country. One we approached had 5 forensic auditors. Their only job was to audit their merchant services account, and we still uncovered over $2 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really it's we're like the knight in shining armor of the merchant services. So the Robin Hood of the merchant services
Yeah.
business. But yeah, I'm really passionate about it because I've seen all these success stories, and I hope I never work for another company for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Don, for taking
Yeah,
some time to chat with me today and to talk
my
about
pleasure.
merchant services and what challenges you guys are facing. How can people reach out to you, and what's the best way for them to get in contact?
Sure. So, my email is dgiordano at Merchant Advocate. I'm sure you've seen some literature, some email blasts from South Dakota. Again, all we ask for is a couple months of your recent merchant statements. We conduct a complimentary analysis, no strings attached, and we'll give you a free health check to see if you're overpaying or not. That's really it, Travis. Thank you so much, Trevor. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's always been a
No, you're
pleasure,
good.
and I hope we can get some more accounts this year.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thanks everybody for listening. And stay tuned for more podcasts like this.